Today we will be installing a brake light modulator. This will turn the brake light into a bit of a flasher when the brakes are applied. So I'm going to give you a quick view of what the brake lights look like normally before we do this install. Yeah, let's put the camera right here. That ought to work. Alright, there's the brakes. Normally they just come on solid. So if somebody sees you and they're already lit up, they don't know if that's how bright they are normally or not. So the modulator will give them some flickering, like something like that. But I won't have to play with the brake pedal while I'm slowing down to do that. So let's go ahead and do this install. I will say I'm not very happy with how bright these brake lights are. I wish they were a lot brighter than they are. Seems like fairly old technology going into these brake lights. So I looked in the factory service manual and found the wiring diagram. Pink with a dark blue stripe is going to be the power to it, and there's a solid black which is ground, which is really all we need for this. I'd love to be able to hide this up somewhere better, but I'd have to run wiring all the way up through the fender to do that. So I'm just going to have to tuck this thing in back here. The other place I could pick it up is from the output from the ECM. The engine control module actually controls the brake lights. It gets the inputs from both brake switches and then deals with that and sends it to the brake light. It's not the greatest idea. Alright, here's the module. Let's move over here because this is where I'm going to be doing most of the work. You're not going to be able to see a lot of this. I apologize for that, so do your best. Okay, here's the module. It's a little bit bigger than a box of matches, but not by much. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You got in and out, positive and negative. You only need to use the positive output. The negative output is not going to be used, and I will just trim it off. And this thing is waterproof, so I'll be able to, it's all potted full of solid material. I don't know if I can get this open or not. Let's see. Okay, here's the inside. It's not the greatest potting job. I can see a section of the circuit board, but I assume that it's over the important components, so it won't really matter. Yeah, not the best focus anyways, but yeah. So this thing could actually be a lot smaller if I needed it to be. I could yank it out of this thing and just, you know, stick the circuit board back there. Oh, I hope I didn't get this backwards. This tells me which way is in and which way is out. Well, we'll test it before I put it together. So the first thing to do, I guess, is to test this and make sure that it's going to work and not upset my ECM. So I gotta peel back some of this cloth wire wrap they've got on this factory harness. Just try not to cut your wires while you're cutting this insulation off. Wire wrap. Now I've got some wire to work with. I don't like having only about 1 inch exposed. 2 inches is better. So, cut it in the middle. Now I've got no brake light. So we'll assume I didn't get the in and out reversed. And we'll just hook it up that way first. Okay, so in from the harness. And then this black, solid black one is our negative, so we're just going to strip the insulation without cutting the wire. You just kind of give it a nice gentle squeeze. Peel back the insulation like that. And we can wrap the wire around it. After I get done, I'm going to, solder all this and heat shrink it. Except this one will just have to get taped because I only peeled the wire. No big deal. And then the output to the brake light. If I got this wrong, I'm probably about to fry my module. I'm sending power the wrong direction into it. We will see. Alright, let's turn the bike back on and see if it works. This is a really easy install. Hanging it and hiding it inside this fender is going to be the hard part. Okay. Oh, I haven't plugged in the brake light yet. Let's plug in the brake light. Okay, now it's plugged in. Let's pull the trigger. must be backwards. Okay. Off. Let's reverse those wires. See if I fried the module or not. Let's try this again. There we go. So pull the brakes once, and it does that. It's not bad. Let's step on the brake pedal down here. Same deal. Cool. I had it backwards, and putting it on backwards, wiring it in backwards does not fry it. How lucky is that? I cut off this extra ground now. There we go. I will get my heat shrink and pull these apart again, solder this all, and then I got to wrap electrical tape around that. And I just got to tuck this all up into the fender, which is harder than you would expect it to be. Ideally, because this is going to be in a very wet environment, you'd get the heat shrink tube that's got the sealant on the inside. It's got a little bit of glue that melts with when the heat shrink shrinks, and then it seals the joint. But I don't have any of that handy, and I'm not going to worry about it. It's just a brake light wire. As you can see, I just kind of did an inline joint there rather than this kind of joint, which is what I usually do because I wanted it to fit under the heat shrink better. So unwrap this one, put the heat shrink over it, get it far away from the heat, and we're going to try and do another inline joint. What you want to do is fold this thing up into a bit of a U shape. Then put this through it. And then we're gonna close the U and wrap this wire extra length around the receiving wire with the smaller U. As best as I can anyways. I got a little bit of a ball there, but it will definitely take up less space than that other joint would have. And then my ground is just kind of wrapped around that, so I'm gonna make sure it's all tucked up nicely, and then I'm gonna fire up my butane soldering iron. This thing's pretty awesome. These are like 20 bucks. I used to get them at Radio Shack before they went out of business. Just kind of strike a spark, and then it starts glowing. And then in about 30 seconds, this thing will be ready to solder. It's rather amazing. It's great in the front yard not having to run an extension cord out here for a normal soldering iron. It's got like a catalyst inside of it. That's what's glowing. Let's see. Yep, it's hot enough already. It's freaking awesome. Come on. Get some joint. There we go. I got some heat in the joint. Alright, that one's good. Alright, that one's good. Alright, good enough. Cool. I'm going to leave this running because I'm going to use this to shrink the heat shrink. Do this joint first. Make sure these are cold before you run the heat shrink over them, or it'll shrink as you go. Alright. Okay, there's that one. This one's got a bit of a bigger ball, so hopefully it still fits. Oh yeah, no problem. And then we'll shrink this one. I mentioned this soldering iron rocks. Cool. There's that. I just wrap some electrical tape around this joint. I can turn the soldering iron off. Let it cool before I put the plastic lid back on. And that's it. You won't be able to watch me tuck this all up in there because, you know, I can't video inside of there. But that's the whole install. I'll leave a link to this fast flash module, but there's lots of different ones to choose from. They're like $14 on Amazon. And I think I'll even leave a link to the soldering iron because I just love this thing so much. Thanks for watching. Up. So I've got them all zip tied. I compressed the suspension, the rear suspension, pretty much all the way and confirmed that it's going to probably clear the tire. I'll do some riding and check on it, make sure it's still clearing. I could zip tie it a little bit lower if I needed to, which might help. This would not be an issue if I hadn't, you know, done the rear license plate delete. If you've got that module back here still that hangs your license plate and has the big honking blinkers hanging off the sides of it, then you won't have this problem. You'd have plenty of room to hide that module. But since I've done a tail tidy on this thing, I've got to come up with other solutions.